Okay, the next question that I have for you is how can I solve a polynomial by factoring? Now, the first thing I want to say is you can't always factor a polynomial, so this isn't always something you can do, but sometimes you can. And I know that we can factor this polynomial right here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to see is can I take anything out? Is there a greatest common factor between the 2x to the third, the negative 7x squared, and the 3x? Well, it looks like these numbers, you can't factor any numbers out, but each of these has an x. So my first step would be to take that x out. And then if I take it out, what I have left is 2x squared minus 7x plus 3 equals 0. Okay? Now, I have a trinomial right here. And I know how to factor trinomials if they're factorable. And this one turns out to be the factorable. And I'm going to use the slide swing method to do this. Remember, the first step is you take this 2 and multiply it by that 3. When you do it, you got to rewrite this whole scenario. And let's not lose track of this x right here. We'll bring that back in later. But we bring that down, and now what we have is x squared minus 7x, and this 2 times this 3 gives us 6. So plus 6. Okay, now we're going to make our little x box right here. Actually, yeah, right there. Let's do it. That's a good spot. And we got to figure out what times what is 6. We'll put that down here. That add together to be negative 7. We'll put that right here. So adding and then multiplying. Well, let's think that through. What times what is 6 added together to be negative 7? Well, I'm thinking, oh yeah, we got negative 1 times negative 6. If I multiply those together, I'm going to get a positive 6. When I add those together, I'll get a negative 7. So if I were to factor this thing right here, this expression, what I would get is x minus 1, that's from here. And then I would get from this x minus 6 from there. Now remember, I can't forget about this x I had at the beginning, so I got to bring that down. I'll put that right here, that x. And this is still set equal to 0. So I haven't solved yet, I've just factored it. It's totally factorable, and now I'm going to use that zero product property to solve this. So I got to ask myself, what do I have to put in for this x right here to zero it out? Because if I make this x right here 0, 0 times whatever this whole thing is will be 0. Well, this one's kind of obvious, but you just put 0 in for x. So one solution would be x equals 0. Okay? And then now I'll go over to this red one. What do I have to put in for this x right here to make this parentheses 0? Well, what minus 1 is 0? Well, 1 minus 1 is 0. So another solution would be or 1. And lastly, let's take a look at this parentheses. Again, I have to figure out what do I have to put in for this x right here. So to make this parentheses 0, because if this thing is 0, this parenthesis, the whole thing will be equal to 0. Well, what minus 6 is 0? 6 minus 6 is 0. So another solution would be or 6. And that is how you use factoring to solve polynomials. We found that this polynomial crosses over the x-axis at x equals 0, 1, or 6.